The screaming alarms echoed through the empty halls as Daniel Rivera sprinted down the marble corridor, his lungs burning and his hands shaking. Moments earlier, he had been mopping the lobby floor, exhausted and half asleep after another double shift, when he heard the sound no janitor ever expects to hear on a late night, a woman crying for help. And at that moment, Daniel didn't know she was the CEO. He only knew someone was in danger, and he refused to walk away. Daniel was a 32-year-old single dad who juggled 2 jobs to take care of his 7-year-old daughter Lily. His life had been a long series of closed doors and broken promises. But even in his lowest moments, he held on to one belief: good men protect others, even when no one notices. That belief was about to change his life forever. Daniel burst into the executive office lounge where the scream had come from. A masked intruder was gripping a woman's arm, threatening her as she struggled against him. Papers were scattered across the floor, and a broken vase lay near her feet. Daniel didn't recognize her face, but she looked terrified, and that was enough. "Let her go," he shouted before his brain could warn him about all the consequences that could follow. A janitor interfering with a violent situation could get fired at best and killed at worst. But he didn't stop. The intruder charged toward him. Daniel acted on pure instinct, grabbing the heavy metal mop handle and blocking the man's strike. The hit sent a sharp pain through his arm, but he didn't back down. He wrestled the attacker to the ground, shouting for security. The moment guards stormed in, the masked man bolted out through a side exit. The woman stood frozen, eyes wide, breath shaking. "Are you okay?" Daniel asked softly. He expected a nod, maybe a whispered thank you. Instead, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him, trembling. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved my life." Only then did her name echo through the hall as security staff rushed around them. Ms. Isabella Hart. The CEO. The most powerful woman in the building. Daniel's stomach dropped. He had no idea what saving a CEO's life meant for a janitor with barely enough money to buy groceries for his daughter. Would he be blamed? Fired? Questioned? Or simply forgotten? But Isabella wasn't the kind of woman who forgot people. The next morning, Daniel arrived at work expecting trouble. Instead, he found the entire building buzzing with news of the mysterious hero janitor. Everyone was talking about him, but no one knew his name. Isabella did. She called him to her office, something that had never happened to him in his entire life. Her office was intimidating, lined with awards, city views, and a desk bigger than the room he rented. Daniel stood awkwardly near the door, clutching his cap. "Sit, Daniel," she said gently. He hesitated. CEOs didn't talk to people like him softly. She smiled. "You saved my life. That means you don't have to stand by the door." He sat slowly, feeling out of place and yet strangely seen. After thanking him once again, Isabella asked about him, his job, his daughter, his struggles. Daniel tried to downplay everything, but she eventually learned the truth: the broken-down apartment he lived in, the hospital bills for Lily's asthma, the fact that he skipped meals so she wouldn't have to. No one had ever cared about his story like that. But Isabella listened like every detail mattered. At the end of the conversation, Daniel thought it was over. He was wrong. It was only the beginning. A few days later, the company held a formal ceremony to honor him. Daniel felt ridiculous standing on stage in his worn-out shoes while executives clapped for him, but Isabella made sure he felt appreciated, not pitied. Still, Daniel had no idea what she was planning. After the ceremony, she approached with an envelope. "This is for you," she said. Daniel opened it, expecting maybe a small bonus or a thank you note. His hands shook when he saw the number. It was a check far larger than he had ever seen in his life. "That's too much," he whispered, breathless. "It's not enough," Isabella replied. "But it's a start." He swallowed hard, overwhelmed. That money could change everything. He could move to a safer neighborhood. Pay Lily's medical bills. Maybe even quit one of his jobs. But Isabella wasn't done. "I want to offer you something else," she said. "A new position. Higher pay. Better hours. You deserve a chance to grow, Daniel." He couldn't speak. No one had ever invested in him before. "Why me?" he finally managed. She looked at him with a softness he didn't expect from someone so powerful. Because you risked everything for a stranger, she said. And men with hearts like yours deserve to rise. The following months transformed Daniel's life. He moved into a clean apartment with sunlight for Lily to play in. He worked normal hours and slept through the night for the first time in years. His confidence grew. His daughter's health improved. And his relationship with Isabella deepened, not romantically, but with genuine respect, trust, and admiration. She became the first person in power who saw him not as a janitor, not as a broke single dad, but as a man of integrity. Daniel's story spread across the company and beyond. Employees found hope in his journey. Other single parents told him he inspired them. He became known not for his past struggles but for his courage. Still, the moment that stayed with him the most wasn't the applause or the money. It was the night he saved Isabella, when he chose to act without thinking of the consequences. Because sometimes, the greatest doors open when you aren't looking for them. One evening, months later, Isabella visited his new office. "You look happy," she said. "I am," Daniel replied. "For the first time in a long time." She smiled warmly. "You earned every bit of it." Daniel paused, then said honestly, "Thank you, for changing my life." She shook her head. "No, Daniel. You changed your own life. I just gave you the space to shine." The story ends with a message Isabella once told him, a message he now shared with others. Your circumstances don't define your worth. Your actions do. And Daniel proved that sometimes, the people who seem the smallest can show the greatest courage, and one brave choice can rewrite a life forever.